listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network. Now, the largest new media platform on the web and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Heap. Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Fargo After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Fargo After Show.
Hello, Fargo Fan Club. Welcome to episode 8, The Heap. The entire panel is back tonight.
Dream team.
I'm your host, Oriana Leo, and rounding out my round table to my left is the fabulous
David Schifilitti.
Hi guys, I'm Jillian Leff. Hi guys, I'm Sarah Huggins.
Sorry for not introducing you.
Yeah.
So
I'm the only one that's important.
Let's just jump right in. This was definitely a different episode. It started out really heavy with exposition, really expository. We weren't really sure what a lot of this stuff meant, but knowing that it's going to be explained at some point.
I really enjoyed the way that this episode was unfolded. Much more so than any of the other ones, personally. But
What
that's
about
just
it?
my taste. I mean, we'll get to it eventually,
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed the fact that it jumped forward in time a full year, and we got to see our characters
Stuff happen.
change.
Right.
And things happen.
Well, I think they needed to do that, especially because the past 2 episodes specifically have been so action-packed. You know, people died, people lived. Sorry, guys. I thought Molly was dead, but she apparently is alive and kicking. And I think that it was important for them to sort of slow things down before they speed things up in the last 2 episodes.
Absolutely.
Well, and they were just harping on the same stuff over and over again, like the last 2 episodes. I know a lot happened in the one where everybody gets shot, but I mean, but I feel like that case was getting stale. Like it was like, okay, what else is going to happen?
Right.
Like, something new.
Moving
So,
right
yeah.
along. And this episode certainly did that. And we open with Lester getting an upgrade for his washing machine, which was, I think, symbolic in so many ways. But it was so interesting because, you know, he's vindicated in a way when the repair guy or the delivery guy is saying, like, oh, yeah, this one you had was a piece of crap. I bet it was shaking and moving. And he's like, you have no idea.
Yeah.
And to think, you know, Pearl's putting all of this on him. Did you guys see anything else in that scene? Did anything else, jump out at you?
I mean, I thought it was kind of, I thought there was like a weird erotic aspect of it.
Yeah, he was turned on
Like
by
it,
it.
yeah, it was really glamorizing. It was almost romantic the way that they shot the
really
washing
look at,
machine. You didn't?
As a sexy thing.
I did. I
He
got
was,
like a sexy vibe.
He was mesmerized.
Yeah.
Yes, he
That's
was
for
mesmerized
Sure. He
by
sat in the
it.
basement and watched the wash go round and around.
And he was
around.
just getting more and more I'm awesome. Like it just seemed like he was yeah.
Yeah, he
this
didn't
is
want to bang
happening.
it. Like it wasn't that type of sexy.
Right.
It was just like
Ooh, yeah,
Ooh.
groovy. Yeah.
Well, it was his first real
Power.
upgrade. I mean, he
Yeah.
had Mrs. Hess, yes, but I mean, this was I think some vindication and an upgrade.
Things are changing in his
Things
life.
are changing in
Yeah.
his life. And I have to admit, David, you said something, but what a great transitional shot of the washing machine going around and around to
Yeah.
the coffee cup.
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
That
It was
was
very cool.
beautiful. I actually did not write down who directed this episode, but
They did a really good job.
very well done. Yeah. The cinematography and the shots, the transitions were really good. So we transitioned into the coffee cup of Kitty Nygaard. And I love that she goes, you don't cheat on Miss Hubbard County. Not that I know where Hubbard County is, but
Well,
And this
Go
is
ahead.
sort of, the first time that we're really seeing Lester sort of take hold of the lie completely. You know, he did it with Chief Oswald when sort of Chief Oswald made up the story last episode. But, this time around, he just went along with it and looked sad and not an ounce of guilt. He sort of learned to control his tick that he had before, and now he's falling into his new life. And I think that the washer was the first start of the upgrade. He upgraded a lot in this episode.
absolutely.
He upgraded a lot of things.
And he's getting a little drunk on his power. Like you can tell with every step he takes, he's getting more and more, you know, almost infatuated with himself. I
Right.
think is maybe what you were seeing in that
Yeah.
first scene.
I definitely did. I thought he was going to end up hooking up with his brother's wife.
That's where I
Yeah.
thought it was going, because
Me
that's the first
too.
time I noticed that a woman was paying
Extra.
extra attention to him. Yes.
And she offers up Chaz's hunting gear because she's going to have to sell everything anyway. So
Right.
he might as well take what he wants. And it's hilarious that her value system is, you know, I don't ever want him to come back because of what he did. And it wasn't the murder, it was
Right.
the
It
cheating.
It was the fact that he
cheating.
cheated. I was very shocked by that. She could have cared less the fact that her son's father killed somebody, in quotes,
Right.
but that he cheated on her.
Right. Well,
Ridiculous.
now we know where her values lie.
Right.
And I feel like that scene too was. I mean, we saw in the next scene, it was just motivating Lester. He was like, "Yeah,
The director of this episode
Let's-
was Scott Wynant.
Scott Wynant. Okay, well, fabulous job,
Yes.
Scott Wynant. Now, before we move on any further, I want
Yeah.
to talk about Maria Menounos' new book. This is the follow-up to The Every Girl's Guide to Life. It is The Every Girl's Guide to Diet and Fitness. And it comes out, Marissa, when does it come out?
Came out.
came out
Today.
today."
It comes out
Oh,
today. I'm
Mira.
trying to get this on camera. There we go. So this is for everybody. This is for men and women. Anyone that's looking for tips and tricks to kind of get your diet and fitness dialed in.
I see?
Yes, absolutely. I've
you.
only skimmed through it, but
Yeah.
I've read a lot of the excerpts, and she's an amazing host. She's an amazing author, but she really goes to other people in the business that have a lot of experience and asks them what their secrets are. And I think that's what makes it such an amazing book.
And she lost 40 pounds,
Yeah.
and she's been able
And
to
she's
keep it
kept
off.
And she
I'll
looks
give you
amazing.
a little tip right here. Every girl rule number 7: drink hot water for weight loss.
And that's funny because Kevin told me the same thing.
And you
Drink
know
hot
what?
water.
Interesting.
Maria does drink hot water.
She
In the
drinks
morning,
hot water
right?
All the
Yeah.
time. All the time, actually.
Interesting.
So everybody, you can get this on.
Amazon, iTunes, Barnes and Nobles,
Everywhere.
anywhere where books are
Where
sold.
books are sold.
Yay, and it's going to be a bestseller just like her first
Yes,
one.
it is.
Woohoo.
So please go support. So moving on, she says to Kitty Nygaard says to Lester, like, all good things you deserve.
And then she gives him a little kiss.
And I was just like, oh, this is the beginning of where the lie solidifies in his head, right? Where he's like, yes,
Yeah.
I do. I do deserve all good
do
things,
deserve all good things.
right?
Well, I mean, right after that, we see him like clean
Makeover.
house.
Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah.
clean everything
He got rid
out.
of the quotes.
He got rid of all the quotes.
All the
Yeah.
uplifting quotes in his life, he got rid of those.
All the tchotchkes, every little
The sewing
essence
machine.
of
The
Pearl.
sewing
The sewing machine, which, by the
I'm
way, you
freaked
can
out.
sell that on Craigslist or eBay for some money. People, I
Or
mean,
like the pawn shop, or
or
you
give
know,
it to Goodwill. You
give it to
don't just put
Goodwill.
it on the trash can, Lester.
Oriana, he's salesman of the year. He doesn't need it.
Yeah.
Not that
Well,
he
he
doesn't.
wasn't then, but yeah, that was
Spoiler alert,
Salesman of the
y'all.
Year in making. So what was the song that was playing?
Joyful, joyful.
Oh yeah.
Joyful,
Yeah.
joyful.
Joyful,
Joyful,
joyful.
That's
joyful.
the name of the song.
Don't you remember
Yeah.
Sister Act 2?
Yes.
Joyful,
Joyful,
joyful, Lord.
That's so funny because that's the second
to
time
sing.
today that I started singing that song.
Oh my
good.
gosh, that was an amazing musical moment.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
that was, I
guys.
thought that was really cute.
You can buy their
Was
single
very
on
cute.
iTunes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought that was really
We
cute
gotta
though
think of
that
it.
that was
Dara.
that was the song that he's
Yes.
cleaning everything out to.
It was kind of a weird song to
It was
choose, but it
weird.
worked because of like the arrangement of that song was
Yeah.
kind of interesting.
It was very celebratory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
was good.
totally worked for the perversion that's going
Yeah,
on.
I
you
get
know?
that.
And then we see Molly Solverson at the diner, and she's got some flowers from
Aw.
Duluth.
Her lover.
And I really liked that Dad says, you know, when she's talking about what she's going to do, and he's like, do you really think that direct approach is the best way? First time anyone's mentioned it. First time anyone, at least, first time someone outside of, I don't know, the police department has kind of been like, hey, I don't think you would do
kind of
that.
not really outside the police department, sort
True.
of.
But I would have expected commentary from elsewhere sooner. Like, whoa, back up.
Yeah.
The only person that's saying that is Chief Oswald.
Yeah.
No one else has
Yeah.
said anything. So finally, Dad is kind of like, "Rrr."
Because it's not working.
It's not working.
No.
It's not.
Well, there was a little bit of a twinkle in her eye. You know, she put the note in her pocket after she read it, and
Yeah.
she's in front of her dad, so of course she's like, no, Dad, like, stop it. You know, the teenage moment. And then she's like, you know, 30-something years old. She had it. It just, except it was more mature, but it was kind of, like, embarrassed. Like, no, he's not. Like, stop.
Absolutely.
Modest.
So,
You made her sound like such a teenage girl.
Yeah.
so
Oh
I
my
love
teeny bopper.
that we are introduced to Chief Oswald in this episode, where he's summoned, you know, where Molly's taking a different approach. She's got all of her clues are put up on the board. You know, she's going to present her case for once and for all. And Chief Oswald wants to wait because he's busy digesting an omelet.
I appreciate her different approach, though, because
Yeah.
let's be real.
And I preach his candidness.
Yes.
Me too.
His candor is wonderful.
Yes.
I think that she went about it the right way, because all the times before, she was just going up and starting a conversation with him. She at least tried to have the facts
different-
sort of laid out. And obviously, because Chief Oswald wants to leave whatever is done, you know, he has no desire to.
My problem, I appreciated her approach, and I was like, yes, good for you. Go direct, tell him everything that you want to tell him, put it all on the table. But the problem was she got frantic, which made her seem like she doesn't even believe what she's saying.
Well, she
Right.
said, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Right, yes, I know that, but she said that very timidly.
Well, because he said he admitted he was wrong. I
Yes.
was wrong. You were right about the drifter thing, and so he admits he's wrong, but then she can't help herself. She
Right.
gets so emotional, which we know why she's so emotional.
Right.
Ida
She
is
has it figured out.
right. She has it figured out. You know, she lost someone very close to her. She seems to be the only one that really cares about the truth of this, but still, her approach. You don't want to tell the chief he's wrong, especially when. I mean, you want to woo him. You want to woo him to be on your side, to support
Exactly.
you.
Exactly.
She hasn't done herself any favors.
She should have made him an omelet.
You know what?
He just
Wrapped
had
in
one.
tinfoil.
Yeah.
He
His
just had
wife
it on there.
made him one wrapped
Clearly.
in tinfoil. I love the details that we had in this episode that really was like, wow,
Well, because-
that's what's so interesting about this place.
Well, that's what makes it so great. It's just every little detail about these people's lives. They, you know, whenever they have a conversation, it was just like in the last episode when Lester was calling the cleaning crew and he said, "How are you?" And the guy was like, "Well, don't you know, I'm not feeling too good. I got a little bit of a cold. But other than that, I'm feeling like, who does that?
Right.
Nobody
Right.
does. Nobody responds.
Or
anymore.
I love the little things that they
Anymore.
slipped, that
It's
they
like, I'm good.
slipped
You're
in.
good. Yeah.
Because, you know, Chief Oswald is saying, no, you know, things don't always work like this. Like, you know, you think you're watching the lotto and you have the first 3 matching numbers and you think you're going to buy a jet or a fjord. None of us looked
what's a
at fjord.
fjord?
I think I'm pretty sure it's a piece of land.
I'm pretty sure it's like a hole in the ground.
Okay, hold on.
It's
Yeah.
a piece of
You-
land.
you
I
keep
know.
talking.
You check it out.
Yeah.
But just that's such great writing.
It is. I mean, I really appreciated we had a celebration, we all had drinks, and
We
he had a
had
couple
drinks.
Rob Roys.
Oh yeah, that was the best.
Which,
Like,
tell
what?
everyone what a Rob Roy is.
It is a cherry Coke.
He's like, you
had
had a couple.
You
Yeah,
had
a couple of those.
You had a
Whoa.
couple Rob Roys.
Crazy.
Slow down.
Yeah.
But it's funny how the
cherry
juxtaposition
Coke.
of Chief Oswald saying, like, you know, things just don't work like that.
Right.
You know, like things just don't always work out the
Sometimes
way
you go to bed unsatisfied.
right. But then we see later in the
Very true.
episode,
Yeah.
we
That's
see
good
later in
advice.
the episode that he has a different spin on life. Right, a year later when he finds his missing foster son.
Oh,
Everything. Sometimes
that's
things just
where it
work
went.
out.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
it wasn't his missing son. It was someone's missing
No,
son.
it was his missing. It was his foster son.
Oh, I thought it was somebody because the police officers kept calling and saying, this kid is lost, and it was happenstance. He just so happened to find
put
it.
out all the posters, and him and his wife were looking for him.
That's why he gets
That's
so
why it was a
emotional.
miracle when they found him in the
Gotcha.
grocery store. But I was just thinking about this juxtaposition of him being like, things just don't work out like that, versus things sometimes really work out.
That's why
Yeah.
that scene was important.
That's why it was.
There we go.
But we'll get back to it.
Yeah.
Speaking
Have
of
stuff to
the
say.
fjord,
Yes.
it's a long, narrow inlet with steep sides or cliffs created by glacial erosion. So it looks
Just like a hole in the ground, right?
kind of. It's pretty.
It has water.
yeah, it has
pretty.
water. It's
Okay.
pretty.
Yeah. So it's nice. So that's what he
Google
like
that.
a jet or a fjord are the two things that Chief Oswald would buy with his lotto money.
I didn't know you could buy fjords. For it.
If you could buy an
Sounds nice.
island, you maybe could buy
Yeah.
a fjord. I don't know.
Lovely.
If there's land for sale and there happens to be a fjord on that land.
So we see Lester in his office in his new digs. Like, he's cleaned house and he's apparently purchased some new clothing for the first time
He got
ever.
a new blazer, went to the tailor with it.
Right? And he's getting some attention from his
Linda.
From Linda.
Oh, Linda.
Linda likes his new outfit. She's I don't know if it's the pheromones.
It's the vibes. He's like putting something
Yeah,
out that everyone is just like picking up, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and this is his confidence is
Exactly
building.
like
It's like a
that.
tsunami of confidence,
Right.
if you will, right? It's building and building. People are picking up on it. She sits
Mostly
on
women.
mostly women. She sits on the desk. And then in comes Mrs. Hess, which amazing performance.
Oh,
Best scene of the whole
my
thing.
God.
I can't repeat half of what she said.
I'm gonna repeat it all
Oh my God,
because
you wrote it down.
if you watched the episode, you've heard it already, so we can repeat it, right?
Okay.
Man.
She
All right.
talks about how he says Mrs. Hess, please, because she gets this note in the mail saying that she's not an eligible applicant for
the money.
the money from her husband's life insurance, whatever. And she's like, "Don't Mrs. Hess me, I was picking pubes out of my teeth 12 hours ago."
Your pubes.
Your pubes. And then she says, "I let you come inside of me."
Which,
David.
but we were hypothesizing last week about, or the week
A
before,
baby.
about a baby because we assumed that happened, and we now have confirmation.
Yep.
So who knows? It didn't look like it was well protected, and we know from her history it probably isn't.
I got a mess.
And I
So-
loved how the sons were like, "Mom, don't talk like that."
It wasn't like, ew, you did that.
Yeah,
It was
they were
like,
like,
just don't say that
don't say
out
that.
loud.
I wonder how old she is.
In real life, or
No,
Kate
her
Walsh?
character. I wonder how old her
Kate
character
Walsh
is.
is amazing age.
Well,
Yeah.
No, she's gorgeous.
The age of amazing.
But
Yeah.
I wonder how old she is because that also could play a factor into our pregnancy theory.
Oh, I wouldn't have thought of that. Good thinking.
I mean, her sons are
mean,
older.
Gina Davis had twins at 50. Just
Yeah.
pointing that
Well,
out.
Damn, Gina Davis.
enough money can buy you almost anything.
true.
But so the kids come in though, and they're like threatening, and I didn't know quite what to expect,
Yeah.
but I was kind of thinking like he's gonna snap, like he can't handle being bullied like that anymore. Like he's a different person,
Right.
But he literally is a different person.
Picks up the stapler and staples the kid in the forehead.
Both of the kids in
Yeah.
the face.
I didn't know you could do that.
Well,
Let's try.
Yeah.
I don't think you actually. I don't know
Stapler?
if you. There might be staplers, like older staplers, that you could possibly do
Oh,
that
there's
to
no, like,
somebody.
safeguard.
Yeah, but I think newer ones
did
there's.
hard
They
enough.
don't allow that.
Yeah.
If you did it hard enough, you could probably get a staple in someone's face, or at least cut them. You know. But I remember he says, "Are we calm? Are we calm now?" And I was like, "Whoa,
Well, and
Lester."
meanwhile, we
right?
see
Linda's,
Linda
like,
creepily
panting.
getting turned on in
Linda's
the corner.
having orgasms
Yeah.
in the
She
corner,
is,
and she's like, "Yes,
Yes.
give it to me, Lester."
She's already made up her mind about where she wants things
Right.
to go.
Yeah.
Right
In his
there.
pants.
Right there.
Oh my
She's
god.
like, "You're amazing."
Yeah.
Oh, it's pretty incredible. And then,
Sarah and I had a moment.
Yeah.
but then, what does he say to Mrs. Hess about, like, well,
He's
He
like,
was like,
I'll
if
make
he
a call.
missed a couple payments, you might be ineligible, but we'll make something work. I don't know.
so she feels,
Like,
she
then leave
realizes
my-
that she's
Screwed.
screwed.
In more ways than one.
Yes. So our next scene is our favorites Fargo, our favorites Key and Peele. I don't know, one of them's name is Agent Pepper. I don't know what the other one's name is, but everyone knows who they are. They're
Yeah.
Key and Peele.
Except for me.
Except David does not know who
That's
they are.
not something you admit.
Yeah,
I just did.
David
you
doesn't
can-
have a TV, so that's
Correct.
why.
It's true.
you can look them up.
I will.
And they talk about the syndicate spree killing. And so, just as we kind of imagined, they're being right in front while the attacker walks in front of them with a machine gun and kills all these people. They are silently escorted to probably where careers go to die,
The file room.
the file room.
Yes.
And this is where you work now. And of course, they're taking bets of they're only going to be there for 2 weeks. And we find out that
there much
they're going to
longer.
be there much longer.
Yeah.
But surprise, surprise.
They screwed up big.
Well, yeah,
They
they
deserve
did.
it.
They do deserve it. Surprise, surprise. We're introduced. We see Mr. Wrench in the hospital, sleeping like a baby. And
like a baby.
there's a security, cop. I don't know what sort of security guy this is, that you leave your post to go to the bathroom without telling anyone to take cover.
Well, I mean,
It was in the
I feel like you're in the hospital and the guy's like handcuffed to the bed, most likely. You would assume.
22 people killed.
Yeah.
don't leave your post. But
When you gotta go, you gotta go.
we're in Bemidji, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Is this in Bemidji or Duluth? It's
No,
in
it's
Bemidji,
Bemidji.
right? Honestly,
Who
I don't
knows at this point?
It's a little bit hard to
Just
keep.
Bemidji.
The storm was all
The
confusing.
storm was very confusing. But we had another bathroom scene.
Yes, it was only
I-
one of the.
I loved
episode.
though the way that his feet just came down from the toilet. Like how creepy is that? Do you,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes when I'm like walking to a public
Oh, me
bathroom
too.
alone, I want to be like, ugh, kicking the doors. Like, is
Haven't
anybody
you
in
seen
there?
Scream 2? That's like the scariest bathroom scene ever.
Well, how long was he waiting in there?
right? Right,
Who
Marissa?
knows? I mean, can you imagine how long
Right?
did he have
I
to
know.
wait for that guy?
And
to
then
have to take a
how
leak?
many other people did he kill before it was the right guy?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it wouldn't matter to him. I
He was,
don't know.
probably, he was probably looking through the little crack in the door.
So ironically
Maybe.
enough, this poor guy, just wants to take a whiz. That's what he
Yeah.
thinks is happening. But he ends up getting choked to death with his dick out.
Oh,
Oh, I didn't think of that.
I mean, how humiliating.
Oh,
I would have assumed that like
poor guy.
P would have gone everywhere.
Well,
Me too. I didn't
Well, I
think
think
of
you
it
guess
that
stop.
way.
It would
pissing
stop-
when you're being choked.
Yeah.
do you? I don't know.
I would think so, David. Do
I feel
want
like
to
you
try?
let go of all your.
Try
I
it.
think upon death, you let go, but I bet you the reaction of like,
might
I bet
stop
you might,
everything.
yeah.
I think this flow
Or-
would stop. I
or you
think the
could-
stream would stop.
You know when people get scared though,
Let's
they
find
like
out.
will pee themselves
that's
and
what
stuff.
I'm saying.
So
We didn't have that angle. We didn't have that view.
Okay.
So unless that footage becomes available,
right.
we'll just have to
Speculate.
hypothesize. But first of
Inquiring
all, we
minds.
noticed
Yeah.
that Lauren's hair, his bangs seemed a little different.
They seemed a little longer.
He seemed a little
Yeah.
poofier.
Yeah.
Like he just had a blowout. I
Yeah.
don't know.
He curved him.
Yeah.
Had a round brush
What he's doing.
But how?
With a hair
I mean,
dryer.
I was just
That'd be
thinking how
amazing.
strong you'd have to be to do that.
To choke
And
somebody
just,
out.
Like, but over your back
Yeah.
with a belt like that. I mean, so I'm not going to
It's a
spend too
rough
much
way
time
to go.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a rough way to go.
With your
Not the
pants.
best.
I
With your
mean,
pants. With your
open.
wiener out.
Yeah, with your weenie out. It's
Ew,
too
I
bad.
hate when you say that word.
But so Lauren is
Wiener.
in Mr. Wrench's room when he wakes up, and he's still handcuffed to his bed, and we get another opus thanks to Lauren of all these wonderful stories he likes to tell us, right?
You know, his stories always make sense. Like, he always has a point to telling the
Unlike
story.
other stories.
Yes.
Unlike other things that happen on this show.
But what was the point of telling stories about other freaky hitmen?
Well, he was saying, I've never heard of a deaf hitman.
No, but then he's like, I've heard of one with the glass eye. I've heard of one with, that got their tongue sliced out of their mouth.
He was just explaining like how special this guy is.
Yeah.
I've
And
never
then he
heard of a
didn't buy all of it.
But he was
I
like,
feel like
oh,
that.
really? I felt like what I was going with it was that I've never heard of a deaf hitman. Here's a couple other freaks I know of, and they were all terrible.
Right.
But you survived,
You're
and
the-
you found
yeah,
me.
And you got the closest
You got
than
the
anybody
closest,
else.
and so he recognizes a fellow predator in the animal kingdom, and instead of taking him out, he gives him a key.
Yeah, but how, he is, again, so sadistic that he's like, I'm going to free you, and if you feel the need to come after me later, then you come after me.
Because it's fun for him.
Wants to give him an
It's
even,
a-
fair fight.
Yeah, it's a game.
Which is just so...
Think about it.
Well, and I really feel like he's lost a little of his mojo. Not Lauren, but
Mr. Wrench was part. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't
partners.
think he's a threat to anybody, really.
And for whatever reason, Lauren sees them
I
as
don't.
a pawn.
I don't
of
see him
some
as, like,
kind.
becoming like a Lester where he like gets like, because he pretty much did, I mean, he was like kind of the brains in the operation, but he wasn't like the executor.
In my mind, Mr. Numbers and Mr. Wrench are gay lovers, and he's going to avenge Mr.
Ooh.
Numbers' death.
Ooh, I like that.
It's been a
But
very erotic
I
show,
think
guys,
that's,
I have to say.
I think that's a little too Lifetime. We're on FX. So.
We are on
Dig
a-
it, though.
Well, there's a couple other
You don't
things
dig
to take note in his little speech that he gives, because he does talk about how you're unemployed, by the way. So that made me think,
He's going to
okay,
start
gonna
working
work
with
together.
him.
is there an
That's what I thought.
employment opportunity here? But then he tells the bear and the steel trap story. There's a
Right.
fly right between us. So
There is.
You're not
which was like, okay, so the bear, gnaws off his own leg to
And
get
dies
out
on
and
his own time.
dies on his own terms. So what is he offering Mr. Wrench a way out on his own terms?
Well, I think that's why he gave him the key. That was like my reasoning as to he told the story and then he gives him the key and he's like, here's the key. If you want to die on your own terms instead of going to jail and getting like the electric chair or whatever, the lethal injection, whatever they do in Minnesota, come find me and you can either work for me or we can fight to the death.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Right?
That's kind of what I was.
And die on your own terms.
Yeah.
That's a good assessment.
Instead of being, you know, brutally murdered like your partner.
Yeah.
Whoops. Sorry.
Oopsies.
So we'll see what happens. I mean, that's going to be something we can talk about in predictions. We see poor Molly, Lou's coffee shop, her welcome back party with her machine gun cake.
It's really sad.
It's
And
super sad.
she's not
Really
happy.
depressing.
Yeah, she's
Right?
she's super depressed. And it makes it so much worse that Ida is sitting there thanking her for
Something that she
salt-
doesn't think is true.
And she almost tells Ida her theory, but she chooses not to.
I'm glad
she
she
doesn't
didn't.
want to ruin the woman's hope.
Well, she
Agreed.
may like at that moment. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe she's coming to terms with the fact that it may not happen. Like whether she has the truth or not is kind of irrelevant at this point. If no one's going to let her find it or act on it, you know what I mean?
I just took it as she didn't share because it like wasn't gonna make like. I mean, she wasn't gonna do anything about it, so it wasn't worth bringing up.
It was only going to hurt Ida.
Yeah.
In the
Yeah.
end.
And that's her friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, so we see that, but as she's leaving this depressing party, where she sees Lester leading the water cooler talk,
Yeah.
and there's men and women involved, and they're all looking at him. He's the center of attention, and he gives Molly like the little, oh
Hey,
hey.
What's up?
Sup, girl.
Hey, girl.
Now
Right?
I had a failed prediction because I had said in
At
previous
that moment?
I
Okay.
said, oh, she's gonna snap,
Mm.
and I've been saying for episodes now that she's gonna snap.
She's cool and collected and
Yeah.
even.
She only snaps right in Chief Oswald's face.
Yes.
but
and
she
in the
doesn't.
wrong way.
But she's a cool cucumber.
Yeah.
Dang, I
For
want
now.
to be right for now,
For now, at
right?
least.
We still got 2 episodes.
So then we see Gus Grimley on patrol, whatever that means.
Speed trap. He was a speed trap.
But was he even pointing his gun at anything?
Just the one car
the
that
one,
drove by.
the only car. So he calls Molly, and that's kind of where things happen, right?
He invites her to the
I have to
logging
say,
festival.
at first, I was very resistant to this 1 year later jump. I did not
I loved
like it.
It was great.
I didn't like it at
perfect.
first. I was like, what's happening? I don't like to be like
Disoriented.
disoriented, yeah. I don't like to not know what's going on.
But
I
we
was-
know what's going on, at least.
Well, yeah.
They gave us enough. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, I really, like, the last half of the episode ended up being my favorite, but at first I was like, what?
Yeah, how could they do this?
Yeah,
I
like
felt
1 year later? What happened in the year? Clearly.
a lot.
lot.
A lot.
Well, Gus got a new job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a mailman
Yep.
now. Male
With a
person.
sweet car.
Excuse me. With
With
a
a sweet-
sweet male person car.
I
Yeah.
thought it was really funny
I
that
don't know, what do you call it?
that on that last scene, the only thing he'd done that day was help someone get their junk off a mailbox that was probably frozen to it.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the last thing he had done. And then 1 year later, he's a mailman.
like motivated him, inspired him to.
You know,
Maybe I'll deliver mail.
why
Sounds
not? He
lovely.
always wanted to
He
be a
always wanted to be a
mailman. And we
mailman.
know that there was a hearing on the shooting, and Molly and he talk about it.
Yeah.
And she's suggesting that he just leaves out the part that he shot her. We don't know what happened, if that's why he got out of the force.
Doesn't mean that we won't find out.
Doesn't mean that we won't find out.
Maybe he lost his job and he had to get a new one.
Ex-
Either way, him and Molly are married and have a baby on the way.
Yep.
Right, like any second.
Any
Any
they
second
would.
now, which means they got busy quick.
Yeah.
Because 1 year.
Good for them.
Yeah. Good for them.
Why
Yeah.
waste time?
And
But-
I love how they did it too. Like I love how they introduced,
Yes.
can you get mom or
Yes.
is mom there?
Yes.
And we were all like, yes.
Yes. And
I thought
and
that was a bit weird, a bit soon for
he
her to be
drives
calling
up
her
to the
mom.
house. Like they have a house.
Yeah,
Right.
They're
Instead
still
of the
talking
second
on the-
floor apartment.
They're
they've
still
got a
talking
house.
on the
Walkie-talkie.
walkies.
Yeah.
Really
some
cute.
things change, some things stay the same.
Greta's
Exactly.
hair.
Oh yeah, not a
Greta's
fan.
not a good look.
Not a
But
good look.
she's calling her mom.
Yeah,
Like
which
that's
is cute.
Really cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit soon for me, but it's
I
okay.
agree.
You know what? We still don't know the story about her mom.
Yes, she passed.
She passed. How did we know that?
Well,
We
remember we
did.
had a little discrepancy
She's been
about
gone
that.
for so
That's
long.
what they said.
Yeah.
They didn't say she passed. They said she's been gone
She's been
for
gone
10 years.
Yeah.
I took it as she passed
Yeah.
because he was sad when he was talking about it.
Probably.
Yeah.
But if she left, she'd be
yeah.
sad too. But either way, I mean, let's just say that she passed away. I mean, Greta really needs a mom, so she
Yeah.
seems
Yeah.
to be happy about it. But we see Molly's office. Maybe is that what it was?
Home office.
Home office that has her tapestry
Her creeper board.
still going.
1 year later.
1 year later, and I mean, the FBI doesn't want anything to do with her information.
They're like, "Stop
Well,
calling."
no one's listening to her because she doesn't have concrete she doesn't
Or
have
new
concrete evidence
information.
or new evidence. She only has a gut feeling.
Right.
And how are you supposed to listen to or believe someone else's gut feeling?
Yeah.
That's the hard part.
It's really hard.
And she doesn't do a very good job at trying to convince people. She just sort of like throws the information in their face and then frantically.
True. There would be a better strategy of like,
Yes.
for example, you know, here's even just undermining the case that they have would be
Yeah.
a better strategy than just throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Yeah.
Because even though she has a pretty well thought out, you know, it's the truth. Jesus. Even though it's well thought out, she's not presenting it in a manner that anyone can do anything with it.
Right.
Right.
So, lesson learned, I guess. Take a new strategy on how you present your project if you want to get people to listen.
Yeah, that's true.
If
Or
I
have
liked
someone
how-
else
Your
call.
art project.
Yeah.
Don't you know?
I like how they threw in the Patriot Act there. Like,
Yeah.
the FBI was so
Sorry.
busy, like, listening to people and investigating people and watching them.
And it was like, oh wait,
Reading our
it's
text
2007.
messages.
2007, right? So, yeah, they were really busy. They don't really care if some murder, you know, in Bemidji is...
Happened a year ago.
Yeah, they don't care. They don't care at all. And then we see our friends Key and Peele back in the file
Still
room.
in the file room.
A year later.
They're having this ridiculous
very
argument.
meta conversation.
Very meta
I
conversation.
don't know how ridiculous it is, but it is very meta. Because think about it. If you take all the files out of the file room, is it still the file room?
Yeah.
If that's what it's called.
Right? But there's no files in it.
Right.
So
Right.
is it the file
But
room?
why was he saying that? What I was
Because he's been there
curious,
for a year and he's
does
gone
he wanna
completely
take
insane.
the files out? Do they have? I'm thinking, is there a strategy? Do they have a cache of files at home that they've been taking everything out? Are they hoarding files like
I don't
squirrels?
think so.
This is
They're
just
just bored as
This
all
is just
hell.
what
Yeah,
happens
there's
to
no
you
windows
when you're
in that
looking at
room.
walls.
1 year later in a file room.
Yeah.
But so he's hitting his tennis ball against the wall, and down comes their equivalent of the creeper board.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And there is the picture that they forgot about long ago.
The
Lorne.
ATM photo of Learn.
Yeah, the
Learn.
Learn.
Foreshadowing, obviously.
Yes.
Right.
Something's gonna happen there. Not that we have any idea what that is. And then another story that has to have some meaning, like I was discussing earlier,
Right.
was our African foster
Sudanese.
Oh, yeah.
to hear
But
from
I have
Sudan.
to say, it was super indulgent. It was way too long.
I really enjoyed the scene.
You did?
Yeah, because it was interesting.
Yeah.
See,
The story
I was like,
that the
what's
kid
the point?
told
The story-
was so
it
interesting.
was amazing.
It was like awesome.
See, I like completely disagree. I was like, what is going on? Like, when is the scene going to be over?
Really?
Yeah.
I loved
To be
it
honest,
because
that's how I
feel like
normally
Jillian
feel
agrees with
about
me. She's
the
afraid to say it.
entire show. And at that moment, I was so engaged in what he was saying.
Well, that's good.
I mean, I felt for the kid, but at the same time, it's like
Right.
I was like, okay, what time is it? Like,
Yeah.
my thoughts were
ball rolling.
kind of the boat was mainly like, where is this going? What's the
Yeah.
point? But then again,
Right.
well, there's always a point to everything.
true.
This is good. This means something. But it was just thinking about, you know, his whole village was massacred, and then his train,
Right.
and then he was ripped off, and then he was hungry, and how horrible his life has been. And then
He
I,
shoplifted for 3 months.
but then I was also looking at Molly, and she looked really happy. Like, she was smiling and glowing in a way that we've never seen her. She's always, like, really, like, you know, got a frown.
Right.
And
She
she's,
felt a lot of tension in her mouth.
yes, a lot of tension in her mouth. So to see her smile, and my feeling was, like, you know, yeah, there were a lot of bad things happened there, but a lot of bad things happen in a lot of places, and a lot of people suffer. And she, as much as she's on a quest for justice, in that moment, it was kind of like, let it go.
Yeah.
You know, like, look at this kid who's been
look
through
how happy
so
he
much.
is
He's
now.
so happy. He's been adopted by the Oswalds,
He's being fostered.
Right.
by the Oswalds, who found him in the grocery store after looking. And we know that Chief Oswald hugged, cried, and visited the ballet.
Yeah.
New things.
The ballet.
But he says, what are the odds?
Yeah.
And I just felt like there's something going on here about what
Maybe
are
he'll
the
start to
odds.
believe her.
It's true.
Maybe
He's
because
changed his attitude a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah.
he has changed his attitude a lot, right? He seems to believe that, okay, maybe it's not a miracle,
Right.
but sometimes things really do work out.
Right.
Cute.
So cute.
So then we get a peek into the Solvers and Grimley bedroom, and you can just see that
About to
Molly,
get
as
here.
much as Molly is in a better place, she's still haunted.
Yeah.
You know, he's sleeping. I wrote sleeping like a husband.
Yeah.
Because we all know that men sleep well.
Well, now you know.
I know. But I'm saying
How do men sleep when they're married?
the same as when they're single. They
Which
sleep.
is?
And then the
okay.
women lay there thinking and watching TV and doing other stuff. Yeah.
And also,
That's
again,
my
a very
experience.
similar
sleep.
shot to some specific shots in the movie of a pregnant person in the bed,
Lady?
pregnant,
Only women
a
are
pregnant
pregnant.
lady in the bed with the husband sleeping
There's
and
a
just
pregnant man.
thinking,
Yes.
and thinking and thinking.
Oh,
Interesting.
Yeah,
look at you putting
Pregnant.
things together.
pregnant person.
Woman. Pregnant woman.
So another amazing transition shot. I think it was the bed.
It was the comforter into the curtains.
the curtains and at the
was
magic
pretty
show
cool.
for the
That was super
insurance
cool.
brokers insurance association party for 2007.
Did you get that?
Salesman
out
of the year. Hello. I was in pharmaceutical sales for 5 years. So just like the bartender asked for selling drugs, I've won those little awards. I've got
Oh,
those
you
trophies.
should bring one next week.
God,
I
Please
think
do.
I'm pretty
I
sure
wanna
I
Show and
see it.
tell.
Pretty sure I threw them all away, but
Find one
maybe I
on
have a
eBay.
picture. I've been to those things, you know, dinner, awards, all that
Right.
stuff.
Entertainment. Really bad
Entertainment.
entertainment.
Yeah, all of that stuff. And so
Yeah.
we see that Lester Nygaard is our salesman of the year.
And he gave a very good speech.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like shocked at the person that he has become within this past year. He has changed so much. He's such much more confident, you know, presence to himself, and he's just like come into his own.
Big time.
Big time. He's married to what's
Hot
her face?
Linda.
Yeah.
April.
Linda.
She looks like an April,
Right?
Yeah, she does.
could be an April.
but it's Linda.
It's
Yeah.
Linda. Whatever. He's married to Linda. He got a new piece.
Smoking hot
But
check.
what he said was so,
Right.
and he said, remember, he was like, speak from the heart, speak from the heart,
Yeah.
you know? And what he said was the cold stone truth.
Yeah.
It's a calamity. Like, you can go around your whole life without a care, and then people die, people go to jail, really bad stuff happens, it's a calamity.
And you need insurance.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
worst
Yeah.
really does happen, and you need to be insured. I had a thought on this since I did spend so much time in sales, in that corporate sales world. You kind of have to be a bad person to be the best salesman of the year.
Agreed.
I would agree.
This is my
Yeah.
opinion, but after being in that world and getting out and never ever going back because it corrupted my
To
soul.
sell your soul a little.
Yes, I mean to be at that, to perform at a high level, you need to be corrupted on the inside. I won't make any bones about it.
No, I agree completely.
Me
Because
too.
I've been in sales. I did sales for a very long time as well. And it's like the more horrible of a person you are,
The more successful.
the better you do.
Yep.
Which makes no sense,
Nope.
but it's because you have no qualms about stepping over other people
Yep.
and doing what you need to do to succeed.
Yes,
Right.
exactly. So this is that ultimate pinnacle of what has happened to him in the last year.
Because he really is a terrible person.
He's a
Yeah.
terrible
You guys kept
person.
saying that. You're like, he's awful.
He's
Yeah.
such a bad person. I felt so bad for him when Pearl was putting him down and like, oh, poor Lester the loser. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, now he's got swag and he's all this stuff, but he's a horrible person with rotten inside.
Yeah.
So
well, look at this. We think he has his whole life together, and
Yeah.
he's married to this beautiful
Happy.
woman, and he looks happy. And then he starts checking out another girl right in front of her, and sends her up to the room so he can go flirt with this girl at a bar.
trolling
Flirt.
for chicks.
He wanted to
Yeah.
get down.
What did he say when the bartender
Right.
asked what drink he wanted?
He said, I want something dangerous.
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 And then he got sand and blood.
Yes.
Scotch and
But
blood orange.
First of all, he brought the trophy to the bar,
Yeah.
which is like
The
The
pretty
Nerd
best
alert.
much
way to
Yeah,
pick
there
up.
we go.
It's like an
alert.
Oscar.
best way to pick up a hooker, right? Because they
Right.
know that you are, I don't know, have some money to
Yeah.
spend.
Yeah, see,
Sure.
I didn't think it was a hooker right away, and then David was like, "Oh, she's probably a hooker."
He's a specialist.
Well, that's
on
just
hooker.
from
That's my specialty. It's true. I'm picking out
what you
hookers.
said because it's Vegas.
Yeah.
True.
Right?
Yeah, that's exactly why
Okay,
I
so
said
I'm
it,
going to
yeah.
share a brief story with you. The last time I was in Vegas
Last
for
time I was a hooker in
AFTERBUZZ.
Vegas.
Uh-huh.
For AFTERBUZZ at CES.
You picked up a hooker.
And I went out to meet a friend at another hotel, and I got dressed up. I was looking good, but I mean, I
You were
was
solicited.
fully clothed. I was solicited by probably 5 men. I was
Who
horrified.
thought you were a
They
hooker?
asked how
thought I
much?
was an escort. They kept saying something
Interesting.
that I must have been a code word, and I didn't know. It was like something. I can't remember what it was, But it was each guy kept saying the same type of thing, and these are like very, very wealthy, very drunk men.
It could have been undercover cops because, as you
I
know,
don't know.
if you don't know, I'm going to tell you now.
Tell us.
Prostitution is legal in Nevada, but not in the county of Las Vegas. So in Las Vegas,
Right.
it is not legal, but in the state of Nevada, it is.
That's why they have like the
I
bunny
really
ranch and
don't
stuff.
think
Yes.
that it was undercover cops because it happened everywhere I went, especially at the higher end hotels. It's happening more and more to the point where I had security guards being like, "You need to watch out for that guy. You need to watch out for that guy. They're following you, whatever." But I had
scary.
I had never been treated like that before, and I was like, "I'm never gonna travel alone in Vegas ever again."
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't even get to see the hooker thing
I
transpire
know.
because of
Right.
Lorne.
And his new hair.
Gosh,
Yeah.
Lorne.
But better
It looks
hairdo.
better.
for
But
sure.
Much
he
better,
looks
yeah.
amazing.
Very
He
full.
looks like real Billy Bob.
Yeah,
You know, he looks
BBT.
Yeah.
handsome, and he's telling some great story.
And he's a doctor now.
He's
Right,
doctor,
a
but
dentist.
He's a
It's
dentist,
funny
yes.
because you can see that Lester is kind of like, oh, check out his competition. You know what I mean? Like he's looking out the bar,
Right.
sees the girls looking at him, he's like winking. He looks
And he's
over,
like,
he's winking.
"Oh, crap."
You know, and then he sees, well, okay, and he looks, and it's like, what are the? I mean, of course, what are the odds? As we heard from Chief Oswald earlier, what are the odds?
What are the odds?
And we find out that he's a dentist. He's telling a story about how he accidentally put Novocaine in his finger while he was shooting up a patient.
Again, horrifying that he has been a dentist. He has been a pastor. Like,
Pastor's on my face.
Pastor doesn't bother me so much because he can't ruin my life technically.
Right.
well, if you
Dentist?
believe him enough.
Well,
Yeah.
but dentist, he could
Yeah.
screw up a
yeah.
whole lot of crap up.
I just, when I saw him and he turned around and
Right.
just how good he looked, I thought of Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
The serial killer,
Yes.
because he was known to prey on women specifically, and he was a good-looking, well-spoken man, sort of the life of the party, and nobody ever suspected him. And I mean, come on, Lauren has gone a year
True
without,
sociopath. That's a true sociopath.
Right.
you know, it's just like, it's crazy. It
hiding in
just-
plain sight.
Exactly.
Just reinventing yourself.
Yeah. That's incredible. So we
Hi.
pretty much
Having met.
What's up, David?
David.
we close there where
Yeah.
Lester interjects. Why I do not know. I mean,
Right.
you would have thought he would have
Lord.
taken his blood and sand at his trophy and just run. Go
Well, I
to
definitely
Linda.
think like
Go to
Lauren being
Linda.
there is no coincidence. He's there on
Really?
purpose. Yeah, like
Yeah?
I don't buy that would
He's
be
too
a coincidence.
calculated. I feel like it was on
Yeah.
purpose, too.
Okay.
Yeah.
He found himself there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
He found himself there.
Yeah.
Interesting, but I feel like his practice is in Las Vegas.
Maybe. We'll find out in the next
We
episode.
will
We will.
find out. So that comes to the close of the show, but we do have a little bit of news and gossip in regards to
AfterBuzz TV News.
Okay.
So the title of today's episode was The Heap, and since these have all been relating to parables of sorts, did you find anything? I know Sarah and David were doing some research.
Yes.
Yes, it is sort of a long-winded parable.
Okay.
Let's be honest, but it is again a Jewish parable about a man a wealthy man, a very wealthy man, who finds that he is miserable in his life. He has everything he has ever wanted, but he's not happy. So he goes to his rabbi and he says, "What can I do?" And he says, "Yes, you have everything in your life, but you've never given to charity. So this is a time for you to give to charity." So he goes through like all the types of charity that he can do. And he thinks to himself, well, if I give to someone who looks like they need it, how will I know that they actually need it? And if I give to someone who doesn't look like they need it, if I don't give to someone who doesn't look like they need it, how do I know that they don't actually need it more?
So
he
he has
decides,
to justify.
Right.
he's like trying to justify who and what he should give his money to. So he decides that he's going to find someone who is without hope. And that is the charity that he wants to give to, someone without hope. So he finds this man who is on a junkyard heap who has lost everything. He's covered in boils and he looks gross and he's in a junkyard and he goes to this man and he's like, what's going on with you? And the man says, I lost my job, I lost my wife, I lost my family, now I'm covered in boils and I'm in a junkyard. And the man says to him, do you still have hope? And he goes, yes, of course I still have hope. If I was dead, I would no longer have hope. So if you want to give to someone who's without hope, go give to a cemetery. And he's like, perfect. So he goes to the
Yeah.
cemetery, he digs
There
a
it is.
hole, puts money in the hole, covers it up. He goes home, he feels better about himself. 2 years later, he's no longer doing so well in his life. his business is going under, he's losing his money, he's on the verge of bankruptcy, and he remembers, I buried money in the cemetery, I'm gonna go back and get it. So he goes back to the cemetery, he digs it up, gets arrested by a cop, goes to court, and explains to the judge what happened, and the judge lets him go. And the cop is like, I can't believe you believe his story. And he goes, of course I believe his story. And he leaves, and as he leaves, he thinks to himself, that man looks so familiar.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's pretty self-explanatory then about how that relates to our show.
Yeah.
I mean, wow.
Yeah.
I've got goosebumps from that
Yeah,
one.
me too.
That's incredible.
It's a little long-winded, but that's the basic
Okay.
points of it.
Well, we'll have to just pontificate on that a little bit later off air.
Yeah.
Do we have some predictions?
And now,
my
your
prediction.
AfterBuzz TV.
Dan prediction, Timmy.
Musical
I'm gonna
episode.
Okay.
Shimmy all the way till
Who
next
wants
week.
to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I have no predictions. I can't think of anything.
There's
It's
just so many flashes. It's like hard for my brain to wrap.
What did we see?
itself
Lorne
around.
and Lester are definitely having a meeting in the dental office.
Right.
Yes.
Um,
And they're in Vegas. I mean, we see these previews. We saw, we see that Lester wants a confrontation.
Lester's gonna kill somebody again.
Woo!
That's my prediction.
Okay. Good for you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Sarah?
I'm good. Like I said, I can't. I don't want to predict.
I'm okay being wrong because I've been wrong this whole time.
Yeah, I'm wrong.
Me too.
I will say I like that they're in Las Vegas. I think it's a little bit sexier, more fun. I was tired of the snow.
I like the fact that in the previews, Lester is attempting to go sort of toe to toe with Lorne.
With his new
A little bit too confident.
Well, we see after he gets out of the elevator, he sort of cowers because, he goes back to the room and he's looking freaked out, is he going to come get me in my sleep? But for that one moment, I think Lauren freaked him out again because he was like, what did he say? Do you want to do this here?
Yes or no?
Oh, yes or no.
Right.
And I just think that there's so much drama, specifically with these two characters. For me, it has to end with one of them dying.
Yeah.
The only logical thing for me is that one of them is dead.
Both of them die.
Or both of them die. Both can't live
Or
on.
neither of them dying.
I don't know.
I don't know. All right, what do you think?
Well, I think that I'm still holding out hope for my prediction that Molly's gonna snap.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Not that I want her to, but just the fact that she's been holding on to this for so long.
Like you want her to totally lose it.
Yeah.
'Cause
not,
she's like,
not totally lose it, but to do something that's on the other side. Like she's always so good. We saw her like toe the line a little bit when she went to Lester's house and like was gonna kick the door in, but found the key and went into
Right.
the washer. Like we saw her do things that were against protocol. I'm still waiting for that moment. I don't know. It's probably past.
Not necessarily.
But I'm holding out hope for it. And I think we're just going to see a major blowout between Lester and Lauren for sure. I personally think Lauren is going to prevail just because he's the bigger, badder, more experienced
man.
animal of these two predators. If Lester wants to think of himself
Lester's
as a
pretty scrappy now, though.
he's not a predator.
No.
I mean, come on.
inside, he's still the man he always was.
Yeah. He's learning. Well, like I was
me.
saying, I think that there's like tsunami of confidence and it's going to end up biting him in the ass because he's going to take it too far and it's going to destroy everything.
I agree.
Okay.
Okay?
I like
All
it.
right.
Sweet.
Well, thank you, friends, for joining us for another AfterBuzz post-game wrap-up of your favorite show, Fargo. We'll be here next week for episode 9.
Oriana, where can we find you?
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
God, I
We're like,
totally
You
forgot.
want to rush us out of here, girlfriend?
Where
know,
can we
right?
find you, Jillian?
You can find me on Twitter at Jillian Leff, on my Instagram at Jilly Leff, or on my website, jillianleff.com. Sarah?
You can find me at Sarah on the Go, Sarah with an H on Twitter, and I'm SarahBear67 on Instagram.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at You Can Call Me Skiff.
Sex.
You can call me Forgetful Jones for forgetting to do that. My name's Oriana Leo. You can find me on Twitter at Miss Oriana Leo, Instagram at Oriana Leo, and everywhere else. Just look it up. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Bye. I don't know.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.